He's completely out of control.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. I'm really pleased to announce an event that I want to start. See who wants to carry on with this, who wants to do it. I'm not doing it with co-hosts because it's quite specific, and I'm just going to throw it out there. See if anyone wants to join in. I did this with the other one that I've made, which is the Spring Me a Melody, and it doesn't really go anywhere. But this one might attract attention because I think the author that I'm concentrating on is quite rightly very popular, and people might think, oh, that might be a good idea, opportunity for me to read something that I haven't read by him yet. So this is me championing the author again. I've already done it before. About 18 months ago I did a video on John Wyndham, and that's what I'm talking about today, John Wyndham. And I just want to do an event to champion John Wyndham and to celebrate his awesome writing. So a little bit about John Wyndham if you don't know. So you might recognise some of the titles, two in particular I think that are really famous if you're not aware of his name. He's an English author that was born in 1903. He had a very long name, loads of names. His name is John Wyndham Parks Lucas Bainham Harris. I'll say that again. John Wyndham Parks Lucas Bainham Harris. And over the years, he's used different pseudonyms, so different parts of his name. So sometimes he published things under the name John Bainham, and sometimes he released a book under the name John Harris. But from 1951 onwards, he used the name John Wyndham, and that's where his most famous works are from when he used his name John Wyndham. And his writing is awesome. He's a really, really good writer, really interesting writer. I think very influential writer. And if you like this sort of, I don't know if this is going to mean anything, but if you like this sort of English pastoral, poetic writing that you sometimes find in writers that period, then you might like him. I think he's someone that, he wrote a lot of science fiction, but I think if you're someone who doesn't read a lot of science fiction but likes that kind of pre-war into the 50s kind of English writing style, then you might like John Wyndham. I think a lot of I know that there's a few booktubers who don't read a lot of science fiction but do like John Wyndham. But there are lots of people on booktube who love science fiction and love John Wyndham. So I think he's just one of those people that can appeal beyond the genre, just like Ray Bradbury. You know, I've been championing Ray Bradbury lately. I'm doing a deep dive on Ray Bradbury, and I think you can say the same sort of thing about him as well. So he was born in 1903, and he did various different jobs, and then started getting into the idea of being a writer. And his first form of writing, his first short stories and that, started coming out in 1925, and he was using the name John Bainham then. And then in 1927 he released a book called Curse of the Burdens, which was under the name John Harris. So you can see what I'm saying there about how he kept using bits of his name to release stuff. And then from 1931 onwards, he started concentrating on science fiction because he started becoming a fan of science fiction and wanted to write it. And he found it kind of fascinating to explore the what-ifs in science fiction. So he started doing that from 1931. And then during the war period, he was busy contributing to the war. And then after the war period, he changed his name to John Wyndham. And the first book he released under that name was Day of the Triffids, which is a very famous book. It's one of my favourite all-time books. It's just such a fantastic book. It is his most famous one, but there are a couple of others that some people say are their favourites. But for me, it's still Day of the Triffids, but I love so many of his books. So yeah, he released that in 1951, and that was the first one under the name John Wyndham. And then everything after that was under that name. And then he sadly died in 1969. But in that period, he wrote loads of stuff. And this is the sort of thing you can explore in an event I'm calling Winter of Wyndham. So if you want to get involved in Winter of Wyndham, all you got to do is read something by John Wyndham. So it could be a reread if you've read loads of his stuff. It could be delving into his stuff for the first time. This could be an excuse to look at that. Or it could be someone who has read some of his stuff but wants to delve a bit deeper and read something that they haven't read yet. So any of those three things would be awesome. Winter of Wyndham. I'm going to just show you some. I've got loads of his books. There's still a few that I haven't got, but I've got quite a lot of his books. So I'll just go through some ideas, and maybe you'll recognise some of the titles, or maybe I might show something up and you might go, oh, I didn't even know that existed, because that happened a few times for me when I found them in the shops. I was like, oh, and quite a lot of them are consistent with a particular design I don't particularly like, but it's quite nice to have the set, I guess. But anyway, this is Day of the Triffids. So if you haven't read anything, sorry, there's going to be a couple of edits from me coughing. If you haven't read anything by John Wyndham, I would recommend Day of the Triffids anyway, because it's just phenomenal. It is my favourite John Wyndham, but as I said earlier, some people have a couple of other favourites. But yeah, I just think it's such a brilliant book. So Day of the Triffids is awesome, apocalyptic, end of the world stuff. And then you've got Plan for Chaos, which is such a great phrase. But this one I haven't read. So this was quite a new purchase for me. And I was really chuffed actually, because I saw it. It's really beautiful condition. It's pretty much brand new. I don't think anyone's read it. Certainly the spine suggests that no one's read it. And it was only £1.75. No, not even that. 75p. 75p, not even a quid. How awesome was that? So yeah, that was a good find, but I haven't read that, so I can't tell you what it's like. But Plan for Chaos is an option. This was the same visit to that book shop. It was a charity shop, and they were selling The Secret People as well for 75p. So The Secret People, another one I haven't got to yet. Hold on. No, not necessarily. I don't know. Is it? Yeah, these are short stories. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. This is a novel. But anyway, it shows you I haven't looked at it yet. But The Secret People, that could be an option for me in The Winter of Wyndham, because I haven't read this one yet. So The Secret People, Consider Her Ways. This is really good. I've read this, and it's kind of a bit patchy as far as you sometimes get with short story books, but he's just got such a beautiful way of writing that even his lesser works, or his stuff that's not quite as good, is still great to read. So Consider Her Ways and others, that's definitely short stories. A short story collection. This is The Kraken Wakes. So this was the first one I read by him. Sorry, the second book I read by him. And yeah, some people love it. Some people don't like it so much. I was a bit disappointed because it came immediately after the Day of the Triffids, but it was still good. Again, you know, his worst stuff's still brilliant. But yeah, it's not as, if you're going to follow it from Day of the Triffids, it's not quite as good, but it's definitely up there in some of his best, I think, The Kraken Wakes. And this is a really good kind of, got this sort of environmentalist kind of theme running through it. And then Chucky. So Chucky was made into a BBC serial when I was a kid. It's very faint memory. Sorry. Very faint memory of that series. But yeah, I do want to read this. I haven't read this yet. I was going to read it in Shorty September. Didn't get to it. So again, this is one I could read for Winter of Wyndham, Chucky, about an alien that has special powers, who was in the form of a boy. The Seeds of Time, I've read some of this, and this is really good. So again, this is short stories. So he didn't just write novels, read short stories as well, but I can't tell you what the whole book's like, but I like what I've read so far. So The Seeds of Time is an option as well. Trouble with Lichen. I really like this book, and when I did my John Wyndham video about 18 months ago, I said this surprised me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Some people don't really like it much, but I thought it was really good. I thought it explored the theme really well. And it's basically exploring a science fiction what if of what would it be like, not to be immortal, but to have like an extra 100, 150 years on your life. And who would get that privilege? And how would society go a bit crazy with the hope that they could get that privilege? I don't know if you can hear her, but my cat is making a lot of noise. Not sure. I'll check to see if she's okay in a minute. She just does it randomly now. Every night she does a little moment. Anyway, Trouble with Lichen is a really good book. Definitely recommend that. The Midwich Cuckoos. There we go. This is arguably as popular as Day of the Triffids. I really loved it when I read it. It's a fantastic book. If you want to go with this one first, if you haven't read anything by him, then go for it. It's really, really good. Definitely one of his best. And there's been loads of versions of it. If you know the film Children of the Damned, then that's from this book. And Village of the Damned was the John Carpenter version. I think that was called Village of the Damned. Alien children that are trying to control the village that they get born into. Absolutely brilliant. And then a couple more here. There's the Chrysalids. So the Chrysalids is another one that's one of his most popular ones, and I definitely recommend you read that. And this is like exploring the what if in science fiction, where you've got this sort of children with special powers and they're being hunted, and it's brilliant. So yeah, the Chrysalids is another really good one. I don't really like these covers much, but hey, what can you do? I don't think I've ever seen a John Wyndham book with a cover I like. So I don't know if that's worth exploring. Show me covers in the comment section where you've seen a John Wyndham cover that you liked. I'd like to see it. And then this one again was a recent purchase. I bought this in my recent London meetup with other booktubers. Stowaway to Mars. I hadn't seen it before, but this is one of his early ones when he first started writing science fiction as John Wyndham. So really keen to read it. And there's a lovely blurb from Stephen King here on the front. Perhaps the best writer of science fiction England has ever produced. Yeah, I mean, I think I like him more than H.G. Wells, and that's a massive statement because I do like H.G. Wells a lot. Maybe, certainly for the classic authors. I mean, there's lots of new authors that I really like, but yeah, possibly. So yeah, that's a little kind of tour through some of my... I've actually got a short story best of John Wyndham as well somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Other than that, I think that's all the rest of my John Wyndham books. I know there are a few more I could get. But anyway, what do you think? Do you want to join in on the Winter of Wyndham? Have a look at John Wyndham. I think it'd be lovely to see if anyone wants to get involved in what they want to read, what they've read so far. What do you think of John Wyndham? Let me know. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Paint me a picture